Welcome to our convocation today. I know it's been a very whirlwind week for those of us in the Dean Suite and for Dean Cardenas. I suspect it's been a bit of a whirlwind for all of you. Been fun? Oh, come on, that can't possibly be true. It's been fun? Professor Erickson, where's Professor Erickson? I told you to make it not fun.
You guys, did you have fun?
Yeah.
I don't think I heard that. Did y'all have fun?
Good. Well, we wanted to have a convocation because we think it's vital to make clear why what you're about to do over the next 3 years matters so much, and to instill the values that we think that you all have and make them clear. One of the things we often say in our administration is if you don't make clear what your culture is, that vacuum will be filled in by things you don't like. So part of a convocation is to make clear what the culture is in law and why it's so important. My research area is usually in quantitative data analysis, numbers, which most of you went to law school to really just avoid, right? But I would like to use numbers to make the point from my perspective about why what we do is so important. And I'm just going to read the numbers first, and then I'll come back to what they each represent. 12,450,000, 20,700, 15,700, 159, 15 million, and 1. 12 million people approximately are arrested every single year. 12 million. Some of them are guilty, some of them are innocent. Some of them have committed horrible crimes, some have had various victims. 12 million. Lawyers need to be on both sides of that, helping the victim and helping the accused. 12 million. 450,000 new businesses are formed every single year. I did corporate law. People need help. They don't know how to form a business. They don't know what type of business to form. Lawyers are there to advise them so they protect their assets. They do the right thing in business. 20,700 new federal regulations in the last decade. Who guides people through that mass of federal regulations? Because as someone who's got a law degree and who often reads and was recently reading a regulation this week, it isn't always easy to understand even for me. Who guides them through that? We do. 15,700 murders. It's 15,700 people who are murdered every single year. So someone's dead, someone's accused. You're there on both sides of that to ensure that justice is done. 15 million civil suits every year are filed. People fighting people over, hey, that guy cut the trees down on my yard and I want my $500 per tree back, to businesses suing each other. 15 million. Those are 15 million conflicts that you will be part of resolving in the future. 159 people that the Innocence Project found have been convicted of murder and sentenced to death row, who were found not to be guilty. Keep in mind, that's horrible in its face, but there's 159 people who were murdered, or more, for whom there was no justice. So there is a tragedy on both ends of that. Who fixes that? And one. That one is you. You are the answer to all of those questions. Who changes things? At the beginning of the week, I talked to you about how you were going to be the change into what you had always been able to be. The reason we need you to change into something that you're not yet, but you've just begun the path down, is because you are the one person who can make that change. When there's one person who's innocent and you can help them be protected and not be found guilty. When there's one person who's trying to start a business that's going to do great things, employ lots of people, but they don't know how to do it, you're the one person who's going to help them. One person. Each person in this room is that one person. And that is why being a lawyer matters, and that is why we in this building take it extraordinarily seriously. Because if you screw up, somebody's hurt. One person. You can help them or you can harm them. And that is why what you do for the next 3 years is so vital, because we will prepare you to be the person to make the difference that you want to make. I'm going to turn it over to Dean Reiber. Thank you very much and welcome. Enjoy the rest of the program.
So good evening. On behalf of the faculty and staff of Florida Coastal School of Law, we want to thank you and congratulate you on surviving your first 3 days of orientation. And the fun has just begun. So what we want to do is to tell you that we are here to help support you and guide you on what is about to be an extraordinary 3-year journey for you. We will take you from orientation through your 1L classes, through your externships, your clinics, all the way to bar prep to your first job. So with my faculty, please stand and rise. Students, 1L class, I present to you the faculty of Florida Coastal School of Law, who for the next 3 years will guide you on your journey. Students, would you please rise? Faculty, I present you with the entering 1L class of the Florida Coastal School of Law. You may be seated. And to officially make you feel very lawyerly, but not lawyers yet, I'm going to first introduce you to one of our faculty who will introduce you to our keynote speaker. You did not have the chance to meet this faculty member this week. She doesn't teach 1L classes, but Professor Melissa Call started off in the state attorney's office here in Jacksonville, along with our keynote speaker, Judge Angela Cox. And Professor Call is now going to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Judge Cox.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and it is a pleasure and an honor to introduce my good friend, Judge Angela Cox. When she was finishing up law school and applying for a job, she interviewed with Harry Schorstein, the then state attorney of the 4th Judicial Circuit here in Jacksonville. And he said, correct me if I'm wrong, why should I hire you? And she said, I will outwork anyone there. And she came to the office, and I had the pleasure of meeting her in 1998, and she fulfilled that promise. And she worked very, very hard. Her first year, she earned Rookie of the Year, and she soon became a rising star of the state attorney's office, prosecuting special assault cases and homicide cases and everything in between. Well, after practicing as a prosecutor for approximately 7 years, people started nudging her. We need you. We need someone with your leadership. We need someone with your talent to sit on the bench in Duval County. And after contemplating, she put her name in, and after approximately 8 years of practicing law, the governor appointed her to the county court bench. At the time, she was 33 years old, and she was the youngest person to be appointed to the county court bench here in Jacksonville, Florida. Thereafter, she had a successful, she was a judge on the county court bench, presiding over misdemeanors and small claims court. And again, members of the community said, it's time. We need you to put your name in. We need you on the circuit court bench here in Jacksonville, Florida. She again carefully considered the decision. She put her name in, and the governor appointed Judge Cox to sit on the circuit court bench. She was the first African-American female to be appointed to the circuit court bench here in Duval County. Not only does she have an excellent reputation in our judiciary, but she has been chosen to teach at the Judges College or conference. She goes to the school where judges go to learn how to become a judge. So you are very fortunate today to hear from her and to have the opportunity to learn from her, as I have over the years, and it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Judge Cox.
Good evening. It was this week, 22 years ago, that I began my first week of law school. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember looking like a deer in headlights. I remember the strange faces. I remember all of the reading that we should have begun before the first day of class. Do they still give y'all reading before the first day of class? 22 years later, they still do it. I remember that like it was yesterday. The fear, the stress of the unknown, and the excitement. There is so much that you have to look forward to over the next 3 years and beyond. That fear and excitement that you feel today will not always be there. The excitement will always be there. That fear will not always be there. As you get your footing as a law student and you find your place in our legal community, that fear will dissipate and the excitement will continue. I have traveled the road that you are about to take, and it is an exciting journey, and it begins this week. As law school will undoubtedly teach you, especially those professors that are over moot court and mock trial, they're going to teach you that you should have a roadmap. And your roadmap is when you're telling your audience, the judges, the other students in your competitions, where you're going to go. So like any good lawyer, I'm going to give you my roadmap. With the few minutes we have together, I hope to inspire you, to encourage you, and to challenge you. To inspire you to keep the dream alive over the next 3 years. To encourage you to never give up or never give in until the goal is reached, and your goal is graduation and passing the bar. To challenge you to begin law school strong and to finish strong, and to create a legal practice that you can be proud of. With that in mind, the question that I pose to you this afternoon is, what will your story be? Where will this journey take you? The fact that you're here today proves that you have what it takes to write the story that you can be proud of. You have the ambition, you have the intelligence, you have the drive. But it will be your decisions that you make, the attitude that you nurture, and the work ethic that you develop that will tell your story. I humbly stand before you as the first African American woman on our circuit court, the first and only. But that's not where my story began. It is with complete awe that I stand before you, having been appointed by not one governor, but 2. But that's not where my story began. It makes my heart swell every time little girls come up to me and say, Judge Cox, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. But that's not where my story began. They tell me that when they come into the courthouse, citizens come into the courthouse and they talk to bailiffs and they ask, which judge should we go observe? The bailiffs tell them, go to Judge Cox's courtroom. She's one of the best. But that's not where my story began. The person that I saw in the mirror was an angry, poverty-stricken little girl growing up in Detroit, Michigan. The person in my mirror did not have 2 parents to raise her. The person in my mirror did not have 1 parent to raise her. The person in my mirror was raised by her grandmother in a drug-infested neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan. The person in my mirror skipped school regularly, got into fights on a regular basis, and received C's and D's in high school. The person in my mirror had a crack and heroin addicted mother as a role model. The person in my mirror often went without food to eat, clothes to wear, and dodged bullets as a part of everyday life. The person in my mirror turned into an angry, rebellious, disrespectful young lady. So what was it that changed the reflection that I saw in the mirror? How did the person in my mirror go from the streets of Detroit to the governor's office in Tallahassee, Florida? How did the person in my mirror go from an inarticulate and disrespectful little girl to the woman you see today? How did the person in my mirror go from a CD student to a law student? How did the person in my mirror go from no honor to your honor? Decisions, attitude, and work ethic. There was nothing in and of itself about Angela that would have made you think I was on the road to the bench. Statistics would say I would be in jail or a drug dealer, or somebody's baby's mama, or on drugs like my mother, or dead. For you see, I had one brother, my only sibling, who was an A student, never got in trouble, on the way to law school. How many people can say that they saw their only sibling get shot, not once, but twice? First, when he was 16 and I was 15, he was shot in the leg as I stood next to him with bullets raining down around us. He lived. Well, the second time, he was shot and killed when I was 17 and he was 18. How did I change the reflection I saw in the mirror despite what I saw around me? I decided to do something different. To do something different with my decisions, to do something different with my attitude, and to do something different with my work ethic. What you do with your decisions, attitude, and work ethic will write your story. It begins today. So I'm going to share with you some things that I learned over the years that I believe contributed to my success as a law student, as a lawyer, and as a member of the judiciary. There are so many things that I've learned over the years. I'm like a sponge when it comes to improving and becoming better. So I don't take credit for anything I tell you. I take credit for applying it to my life. I'm sure there's some original things that I've come up with over the years, but I can't separate them because we have so many great nuggets that we learn from other students, other lawyers, other friends. So I don't take credit for it. I take credit for taking it and applying it to my life. 3 things I'm going to share with you. The first, characteristics of a great professional begin now as a law student. What you do now will carry over into your practice. Pursue excellence. We live in a society where mediocre and average is okay. We live in a society where people think doing just enough is perfect. I suggest to you to pursue excellence. Pursue an above and beyond type of mentality. Above and beyond mentality about getting to class, about studying, about turning your assignments in. Excellence and nothing else. And excellence is what helped me go from that CD student to a law student. It was excellence. I was in 10th grade when I decided that education was important. Unlike probably many of you who thought education was important earlier in your lives. So I had to make some changes, and I had to make them fast. And it was not easy. It was very difficult. But I decided excellence or nothing else was going to be my mindset. So I suggest to you that you create a mindset of excellence as it relates to your law school career. Excellence requires a commitment to your best effort all the time. Your best effort all the time. Excellence requires commitment to your best practices. Many people do a little bit and then rely on luck. Other people say, I do good under pressure because when I wait to the last minute, I get A's in college. That won't happen in law school. That will not happen in law school. So commitment to best practices means doing your very best and your very best of your practices, whatever you put into place to study, to get ready for your exams. I went to every study session. When the teacher's assistants had a study session, I went. I was going to be there because I knew I had ground to make up. When my study group was meeting, I was there. My husband is a lieutenant with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and he scored the highest score on the lieutenant's test. And when he speaks to people and they ask him, what did you do differently than everyone else? He says, if your lifestyle doesn't change, you aren't studying right. And I agree. If your lifestyle is not changing, you aren't doing your very best. So you picked law school. Do your very best every single day and make it a priority and make sure that those habits that you develop will be habits you will use in your practice going forward. Some of the other characteristics of a great professional are punctuality, integrity, commitment, ethics. It is so important that you are on time every time. Funny, Professor Call was looking for me because they were like, is Judge Cox here yet? Is Judge Cox here yet? I was upstairs hanging out because I got here at 4:24 when I was due to be here at 5. And that's typically how I am. I'm usually early, never late, because Early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. That's what my track coach taught me. I remember that. My track coach taught me that. And so I put that into practice in high school running track, and then I put it into practice in law school, and I put it into practice in my practice of law. Now I sit on the bench, and when other people say, judges will take the bench when they want to. In my courtroom, I take the bench when court starts. And if I'm speaking somewhere and I say, I have to go, I have court at 1:30, they can't start till you get there. That's not the attitude we're supposed to have. The attitude we're supposed to have is that your time is important. And so I'm going to respect your time because I expect you to respect my time. So having been on the bench 12 years now, I have taken the bench late once. And the one time I took the bench late, I was in my office, reading an email 30 minutes before court started. A lawyer who had a reputation among the judges of not getting his work done sent me an email and said he didn't have something done that was supposed to be scheduled for court. So I was sitting in my office doing yoga poses, trying to calm down, praying, help me, Lord, not to go into court and go off. So I was in my office calming down so that I wouldn't embarrass this little lawyer because he had a reputation among the judges for never getting his work done. So I was like, surely he's not going to do that to me because everybody knows Judge Cox's reputation. He sent me the email right before court. So when I got into court late, because I was still calming down, I said, pardon me for being late. Your time is important to me. I always start court on time. I am late because of you, Mr. Such and Such. And he looked up. So I said, because you didn't get your memorandum done. So go get it done and have it here before I finish court. But I explained why, because I wanted the reputation to be intact that I was on time and I expected other people to be on time. Punctuality is key in the practice of law. You want to start it now. What you do now will overflow into your practice. The second thing I want to tell you is to live a moderate life. Overindulging always gets people in trouble. The stress that you're going to feel during your 3 years of law school is not going to stop when you begin to practice. We have a very stressful profession. Because of that, you have to manage your stress. You have to take care of yourself. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. And you cannot overindulge. We are one of the one or two professions with the highest rate of substance abuse. Substance includes alcohol. So if you live a moderate life while you are in law school, taking care of yourself, not overindulging in drugs, alcohol, relationships, it will protect you. The law students that I have seen in court, and yes, I have seen law students in criminal court, DUIs. Those are the only charges I've seen for law students in criminal court since I've been on the bench here, DUIs. You want to live a moderate life when it comes to drugs and alcohol. You should not be indulging in drugs. If you have chosen law school and the practice of law is your career path, that should not be a part of your life. Because you're going to have to pass the bar and get into the bar. You're going to apply to agencies where they require a lie detector test and ask you if you were using drugs. All of those things can impact your practice. So you want to be thinking about that now as a law student before it impacts your practice in the long run. Wise people get help. If there's an issue with substances, wise people get help so that it won't go on to derail their future. But not only just drugs and alcohol, you want to live a moderate life in relationships. You want to increase your emotional intelligence. So much of what we see in criminal court is tempers, getting out of hand, not being able to control emotions and impulses. So when it comes to those that you are engaging in relationships with, whether it's your classmates, your personal relationships, your family relationships, you want to increase your emotional intelligence. And you want to develop mental toughness and emotional toughness. This is a profession where your buttons will be pushed. Professionalism and decorum is of the utmost importance. Excellence, professionalism, decorum. Those are the cornerstones of our practice. So you want to begin now to developing that emotional intelligence, increasing it, and developing mental and emotional toughness. You're going to need it. You're going to need it while you're in law school. You're going to need it when you're practicing. And living a moderate life will protect you. The third thing, begin with the end in mind. And I think that came from a book, The 7, say it, Habits of Highly Effective People. I read it like 20 years ago, and that has stuck with me. Begin with the end in mind. And when I say that, I'm referring to what is your end game? Your end game is to pass the bar and to practice law. So you should be studying as though you have a bar exam to take in 3 years, so that you will be like a sponge taking in all that information you need. Not just the information, but the way that your professors are teaching you to analyze the information, how to think like a lawyer. That's what your exams are going to be about. That's what your bar exam is going to be about, issue spotting, being able to spot the issues, being able to look at both sides of an issue. What they're teaching you will help you pass the bar. You don't want to treat your classes like, I just have to get through this class and on to the next semester. What you're learning will help you when you get ready to pass the bar and when you practice. So you want to be thinking about at all times the classes that you choose, the internships you choose, the clinics that you choose, your activities, with the end in mind. What is my goal? Sitting here today, you may not know what type of law you want to practice. Fortunately for me, I had an experience with my brother passing away. I had an experience with the criminal justice system, so I knew I wanted to be a prosecutor. That was it. Prosecutor was it for me. You may not know yet. So you want to be experiencing things so that you can broaden your view of the legal community, what's available to you, so that if something interests you, you can start developing a plan to get to that end goal. So be thinking now with the end in mind, graduation and passing the bar. Be deliberate with your choices. Make sure you're involved in what's available to you here at the law school. What got me my job here in Jacksonville was my career services office at my law school. They set up for me to go interview at the consortium in Atlanta. I was in Tennessee, in Atlanta, to interview for a job in Florida. Had they not told me about that, and had I not been engaging with them, I would never have known about that. So you want to take advantage of what you have here on campus. You're not just studying, coming to class and leaving class. Listen, pay attention to what's available to you here at the law school, and use it so that it can benefit you. I am going to end with a deliberate choice, an example of a deliberate choice and how it can alter your path. Where's Kier? I saw Kier in here. Where is he? Kier, where are you?
He's not here.
Okay, he was here.
He lives here.
Okay, he was here earlier. Kier was here. He's a 3L student, Kier Edwards. Kier Edwards met me when Professor Call brought her class. He met me before that when I spoke somewhere in Tallahassee, but he engaged with me at Professor Call when she brought her class to my courtroom to observe. I spoke to the class. I talked to the class. We took pictures, and they left. I get an email from Kier Edwards saying, I was in your courtroom with Judge Call. Can I come observe trial? I said, sure. He came and observed trial, really didn't interact very much except to ask me questions after the trial was over. And I explained to him what the lawyers were doing. That was it. I get an email from Kier, who's a 2L law student at the time, now he's a 3L, and he says, I'm taking classes this semester, but if you have any research projects that you need someone to work on, I'll be happy to do it. And I said, okay, that's so interesting that he's volunteering to research. And I said, actually, I do have a project. I'm going on vacation. My bench book, which is my Bible in court, the bench book saves the judges. We use it every day, all day. My bench book needs updating. I'm going to give you my bench book, and if you mess it up, I'm going to blow up your life. I'm going to give you my bench book, update my bench book, get it back to me before Monday because I have a trial on Monday and I need my bench book. I have never seen a bench book look so organized. It was updated, it was color-coded, it had all these notes in it. It was amazing. And I was like, wow, he didn't just do an average job. He went above and beyond. He did a fantastic job. So, of course, I started getting resumes for internships. Kier did not apply to my office for an internship. I called Kier and said, I'm hiring interns. You have the job if you want it. He created an opportunity for himself by volunteering during his second year of law school to do research projects for a judge he just passed in a classroom setting. Thinking, and beginning with the end in mind. He didn't expect to get an internship out of it. He expected to get some experience researching, writing, updating the law. That was his expectation. But he created an opportunity for himself by going above and beyond, living a moderate life. I didn't hear anything negative when I asked around about him at the law school, and beginning with the end in mind. You have everything it takes to write your story. Make it one you can be proud of and one that your family members can be proud of. Thank you for having me. Now I'm going to put on my black robe. And at this time, I'm going to administer the oath of professionalism to the incoming class of Florida Coastal School of Law. So if all the students, if you aren't standing, if you'll please stand at this time. And please raise your right hand. I'm going to begin with I, and then when I say I, you repeat after me and state your name, and then you'll repeat everything else after me. Please repeat after me. I, state your name. As a student entering Florida Coastal School of Law, class of fall of 2017, I understand that I am embarking on a course of study that will enable me to join the legal profession. I also understand that as a member of the legal profession and as a member of this community of learning, I will be expected to conduct myself at all times with honor and professionalism. I therefore pledge as follows. To the staff, faculty, and administration, I offer my attention, my diligence, and my respect. I will strive to excel in my studies so that my future clients will benefit from the knowledge and skill that I acquire here. To my fellow students, I offer my support, my respect, and my courtesy. I will strive to make our association a collegial and fruitful one, in which we may depend upon each other for the benefit of all. To the legal profession, I offer my service. I will strive to become a true professional and to learn to practice my craft as a calling in the spirit of public service. Congratulations.
You may be seated. On behalf of Florida Coastal, Judge Cox, we thank you so much for those inspiring words, and I think our students appreciate it. So quickly, D, decision-making, A, attitude, and W, work ethics. If nothing else, you've heard it tonight. And lastly, you're entering a profession. And one of my favorite quotes says, "A mind once stretched by a new idea never regains its original dimension. So your mind will be stretched over the next years, and it would never go to wherever it was before. So at this time, you want to say anything else? At this time, I think you've had enough. You've done so well. You make sure you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in class. When is it, Professor Erickson? When are they coming to class again? Next week? Monday morning. Okay. So drive safe and get fired up to come on Monday. All the best.